Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and this is JavaScript Operator Bonanza. Basically, what we'll be doing is going through all sorts of really fun JavaScript operator features and explaining them. So first, we're going to talk about type of and instance of. So first, let's make an object. My object equals name Alex Merced. Age 34. Okay, so there's my object. Let's make it a const. Let's properly declare it. Cool. Now, what if I want to make sure that this is an object at some point? Oh, first of all, what if I want to make sure I don't know it's an object? I just don't know what it is. I can do this. Console.log. And then I do type of, which just means print the type of my object. So I hit Control C. Save. Then I run the code and see, console logs that it's an object. Okay, if we have an array, so const my array equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7. Okay, then I can do type of my R. Save. Think about that. My R, did I save it? Type of my R. My R equals an array for sure. So why did that still say object? Technically an array is an object, but it should say like an object of type array. My R equals. Did I assign this correctly? Yeah, that looks like an array to me. Let's see, am I console logging the right thing? So let's see here, my R. First, let's just see what happens when I console log my R. I get the array. So, type of my array should be object. Interesting. Okay, let's see what happens if we do the first element. So type of my array 0. My expectation, it should be number. But we'll see what it gives me. In that case, it gives me number. What if I do type of 1, 2, 3? Save. Object. Okay, so basically, I know arrays are object because there's an array prototype, so an array is an object, but interesting. Okay, because you could test to see if it's an array. So let's see here. Let's get rid of this. Now we're going to use the instance of. So I can do if my R is instance of array. So what this does, it says, does this variable's type equal this? If it does, then it will return true. Okay, so console.log. Yes, it's true. Okay, save. So now if we run that code, yes, it's true. Now let's see if I do it with my object. Okay, if I do it with my object, which is not an array, it's just a standard object. See, it doesn't run the code because it's not true. Or if I do my array again, if I do the first element of the array, which is a number, it should still not work. Okay, so it's just a good way to be able to test what something is. So I can be like instance of object. Okay, so let's see here. My obj should be considered an object. Save. Yes, it's true. So yes, it's an object. Now, because when we did type of, we got object before, let me actually test if it'll still treat the array as an object. I imagine it might. So let's just test that out, because then that's something that could easily cause an error if you're not careful about it. Yes, it's true. Okay, so basically, arrays and objects will test true as being an object, but because arrays are a type of object, okay, then arrays would only only a proper array would actually test true when you actually specify array as an instance of. And if you don't believe me, then an array is an object. Watch this. So I have my array. If I go my array dot cheese equals 5. So see, I'm assigning it a property like I would any kind of object. But now if I console.log my r, let's see what you get. Console.log my r. See, you have the array, you have the indexed numbers, but then you also have the property cheese inside of it, because it's still an object. It's just a very unique object built into JavaScript that works as a ordered list of data, but still can be assigned properties, because underneath the hood it's still an object. So just a little side point. So you could do all sorts of fun things with your array if you wanted to. Cool. So that's that. So the next thing I want to talk about is the spread operator. Okay, and what's also referred to as the spread operator and the rest operator. Essentially what that is 3 dots. It's the spread operator when you're expanding the array. So for example, if I were to say my array, and then we do const my array2 equals my r, it equals the first array, and then 8, 9, 10. Okay, save. When I console.log my array2, let's see what we get. Okay, so you see when I do that, there's an array inside of an array, because when I put my array in here, it just treats it as if I'm putting in the whole array. But what if I want to be more explicit and say, I don't want you to put the whole array. Whoa, what happened there? 1 second. Oh, traffic. Anyways. So basically, I want to say, don't put the whole array in the other array. I just want you to put the elements of that array in this array. Then you can use the spread operator, because what it does, it says, instead of putting this whole array here, it's only going to put the elements of that array there. Okay, so now watch the results once I've used the spread operator. Okay, so now it's all in one array instead of an array inside of an array like before. Okay, so that's pretty cool. But it doesn't just work with with arrays, it also works with objects. So let's say I wanted to create a new object. Okay, and so I'm just going to create the new object inside the console log. I want to say this object includes my object, and then another property called email. alex@alexmerced.dev. So now if I console log this object, where is it complaining? Unexpected token, expected, comma, email, alexmerced.dev. Oh, I see. There's missing parentheses there. There we go. Save. There we go. So now if I do this, notice what we get is an object that has a property called myObject. That is the object with 2 properties. And then a separate property called email. That is my email. But I really wanted these 3 properties to be in one object, not an object inside of an object. So what I could do is use the spread operator. Say, hey, I don't want you to put the object in the object. I just want you to put the stuff inside the object here. Okay, so it spreads it out. So I do this, and huzzah. Okay, now you have an object with all 3 properties. Another really useful aspect of this is if you want to make a copy of an object, because one of the things about JavaScript is that when you, let's say I do this, okay? I do my obj2 equals my obj1, or my obj, you would think that this is just going to be a copy of this. So now I have 2 copies of the same object. No, you don't. You only have 1 object. Because what's being copied over isn't the object, but the reference to the object. Because objects and arrays are references to where in memory that data is stored. So in that case, if I were to change, so I'm going to change my obj2 So if I were to change my obj.to's age, and I want to change it to, I want to age myself to 40, and I console.log both my obj and my obj2, because it's a reference, you'll see that both objects have changed. Even though I only edited, oh, this would be my obj2. So since I only edited my obj2, but still both objects will have been altered because it's really only one object. So you see, my age 40, age 40. Okay. So how do I make a copy? How do I do that without creating this weird link where basically if I change one, I change all of them? This is another place where your spread operator becomes very useful. So you would create a new object. So you create you take the object curly brackets, but inside it you put the old object and use the spread operator. So now they're separate. Okay, so this ends up just putting all the same properties in this new object and assigning a reference to that new object to the variable. So now if I run the code, now they're different. See, the original one is still 34, but the new one is now 40. Okay, so that's another really good use of the spread operator. So, yay, the spread operator. Next is, let's do destructuring. Okay, and if you've been watching all my videos, you've probably seen me do destructuring several times because it's literally one of my favorite things. But all destructuring is a way of bringing in data from an existing collection. So first we'll do it with an object. So let's say I want, like right now I have this object with name and age. But right now if I want to console.log my name, I have to do this. I have to do my obj.name, my obj.age. Okay, so I have to do all this extra typing. What if I don't want to do that? What if I would just want a variable called name and a variable called age? What you can do is you just do this, const, so you're going to declare variables, but you put the variable names inside of curly brackets. This signals to JavaScript that we're going to break apart an object. So then I just do name and age. And then I say equals whatever object I want to break into pieces. So my obj. So what this does is that JavaScript will see, oh, you have a variable called name, so let me take a look at my obj. Is there a property called name? Yes, there is. Okay. And then is there a property called age? Yes, there is. And then assigns it to those variables. So 34 ends up being put into age. Alex Merced ends up being put into name. So now I can actually just get rid of this part. And huzzah. Save. Alex Merced 34. Okay. That's destructuring. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling out the data and putting it into individual variables. Okay. But what if I already have a variable named name? I could do this. Okay, so I can be like name2 age2. So essentially what this is saying, look for a property named name, which is Alex Merced, but assign it to a variable called name2. Okay, so you can do that because what happens, you may have like a lot of objects with the same properties, so they can't all be named the same. So in that case, now if I do name2 and age2, should still print the same stuff. Huzzah! Cool, so that's object destructuring. Very nice, very nice. Okay, now let me add another property here. Let's add email. Okay, Alex Merced.dev. Okay, so what if I only wanted these two properties, or actually what if I only wanted to separate the name property? I want to break the name property into its own variable, but the other two properties, age and email, I'm fine with them being in a separate object. This is what's called the rest operator. So it's like using spread. The only difference is that you're not spreading out the object. What you're doing is you're saying put the rest here. So I'm saying put the rest in, we'll call it the rest. So now if I print name, so I'm going to console log name, and I'm going to console log a variable called the rest. And basically what I told JavaScript is destructure the name property and then store the rest of the properties in a variable called the rest. That's why this is called the rest operator. So it's always referred to as the rest operator when those three dots are on the left side of the equal sign. It's always referred to as the spread operator when it's on the right side of the equal sign. Okay, console.log, name the rest, and watch what happens. See, I have Alex Merced all by itself, but now the age property and the email property are in a separate object. See? Super cool. Okay, cool. So that's the spread that's the rest operator and object destruction. Now let's do it with arrays. So if I want to destructure this array, okay, we'll say my array 2, and we want to take out all the numbers. I can say, you know what, const. Then instead of you use an array. Okay, so I'm gonna put an array so that way it knows it's array destructuring. I'm gonna store the first variable in 1, then 2, then 3. So I only want the first 3 numbers, but then I want the rest in a variable called the rest, because that's what I'm gonna call it. And that's gonna equal my array. So it's gonna go to my array, take whatever the first piece of data is, store it in the variable 1, doesn't matter what I call it. Takes the second one, stores it in 3. And then takes the third one and stores it in 3. Now what if I want to skip 3 and just go straight to 4? So let's say I want to do 4. What I can do is I can just put a comma here. So since I didn't put a variable name here, it just skips the third item. So 1 will be stored here, 2 will be stored here, 3 won't be stored anywhere, 4 will be stored here, and then the remainder gets stored in the rest. Okay, and let's console log those variables so you can see that in effect. 1, 2, 3, the rest. Syntax error, 3 is not defined. Oh yeah, it's 4. Save. There you go. So you see 1, 2, 4, and the remaining 5 and 7 gets stored in the rest. Neat. Okay, so that's how destructuring works. There's a lot of other cool stuff you can do with destructuring, but I think that kind of gets the point across. Cool. Instance, or we did instance of. So the last one we need is the ternary operator. So the ternary operator is pretty straightforward. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is like, let's say my var equals 5. Const my var equals 5. And I say const my result equals, then I'm gonna put a variable, my var, or an expression. I put an expression. So my var is greater than 4. That's my expression. And then I put a question mark. Basically what that's saying is that if this expression resolves true, then you're gonna do the first thing. So we'll say, then I'll just put cheese. So that means it'll assign cheese if this is true, because I'm saying equals whatever this resolves to. And then we put colon, which means the next option. So basically, if it's false, we'll say rotten cheese. So what this means is that if this is true, assign cheese. If this is false, return rotten cheese. So right now it should resolve as true because 5 is greater than 4. So let's see what it turns out. Oh, actually we need to console log the result so we can see the result. Console.log result. Save. And so we get cheese. But if I change this to 3, save. Okay, rotten cheese. Nice. Okay, one of the benefits of using the ternary operator, one, it's very succinct, so you can make a nice if statement in a very small piece, but also you don't have to worry about any scoping issues because there's no brackets involved. So you don't have to worry about something being scoped in the wrong place, which is nice. Because a lot of times we try to declare a variable based on a condition. Okay, so I might like do something like, for example, I might say, hey, let me get rid of the const here. I'll say, well, let result equal 5. And then basically what's going to happen is I'll do equals result. It'll assess to see if the variable exists and is defined. So if it comes back with like undefined or null, it's going to come back as false. If it has any value, it'll be true. So I'll say, hey, if it's true, then just make it equal itself. I don't need you to change the number. But if it's not, if it's falsy, if it's not itself, then equal 6. So now if I do this situation, and when we run the code, result is 5 because result exists. Result came back as true because it has a positive value. So in that case, it just assigned itself. But let's say I take out the 5. I just do let result. So result will be undefined, which should be treated as falsy. So then this will resolve as false and instead assign 6. And the variable will come back as 6. And there you go. Okay, so that's a ternary operator. It can be pretty useful in certain situations. So what have we learned? We've learned the spread operator. We've learned the rest operator. We've learned the type of operator, the instance of operator. We've learned destructuring and the ternary operator, all in the matter of like 20 minutes. Not a bad day in JavaScript world. I do recommend watching this video once or twice because these are very useful features that can be used in a lot of places. But hopefully this has upped your JavaScript game quite a bit to have nicer, cleaner, good-looking code. See you guys later. Have a great day and enjoy. Check out my website, alexmercedcoder.com.